kami nakabakaran weh. Weh. Kaya ka na weh krokodil weh. Panas yakin demi Allah. Bantu weh. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Wah.
People were killed and 40 others injured after a train crashed in Egypt's northern province of Beira. Reports claim 2 passenger carriages separated from the passenger train and collided with a cargo train. Probe into the accident has begun. This comes as Egyptians have accused successive governments of failing to enforce basic safety standards for the railways.
كنت راكب في القطر المتجه طالع من إيتاي متجه إلى القاهرة، ففوجئنا بعد التحويلة إن القطر فصل مننا. كنت راكب في العربية الثانية، لقينا ال3 عربيات الأخرانيين فصلوا مننا وراحوا على قطر البضاعة. القطر خبط في بعضه في الركاب، فالقطر وقفنا على المحطة بتاعة أبو الخاو، وقف السواق بينا هنا على المحطة، ونزلنا الناس اللي نزلت جرينا على الحادثة، والأهالي نزلت معانا ولقينا ضحايا كتير وناس ميتة. فالأهالي مشكورين، الناس جت بالعربيات بتاعتهم قاعدة تحمل في الناس المتعورين.
Ground in the Suez Canal after losing power. And at around 200,000 tons and over 400 meters long, the container, well, it's going to take some shifting. 50 ships a day normally pass through the canal, carrying 12% of the world's trade. So the pressure is really on to get her refloated. Here's Richard Galpin.
One of the world's biggest container ships blocking the Suez Canal, one of the world's most vital trade routes. The ship, operated by a Taiwanese company, Evergreen, heading north through the canal towards the Mediterranean when it lost all power and steering. So what are the reasons for this?
One of them is engine failure. You lose control due to engine failure. You would lose control due to a steering failure, or you would lose control, which appears to be the case here, because they have experienced high winds.
The dots here show the congestion that's already built up as other large ships and oil and gas containers arrive in the area, but can go no further. The position of Ever Given totally blocking the route.
A reported meteor lit up the sky across the East Coast this morning just after midnight. This video is in from Julie in Cheektowaga, who caught the streak of light on her doorbell camera. The American Meteor Society called it a fireball and registered over 200 sightings on their website from Virginia to Toronto. We asked the staff at the Buffalo Museum of Science about this phenomenon.
It was a seemingly random event. Most of these space rocks, as you want to call them, they're meteors before they burn up in Earth's atmosphere. That's what this was. It's very similar to something that happened last month. There were sightings of another fireball, and it does not mean that there's more. It just means that there just happened to be 2 of them. So it can happen. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It's nothing to be scared of.
Well, Collins suspects the meteor entered Earth's atmosphere somewhere in Ontario and traveled south across New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Where it landed is anyone's guess, but the Atlantic Ocean.
5:47 now. Take a look here. This video lighting up the sky and social media. People all across the Northwest saw what appeared to be a meteor shower. This video coming from a viewer watching our ABC affiliate in Seattle. It's Como. Now, right now, there's no confirmation of what this was, but the National Weather Service says it might have been some debris from a Falcon 9 rocket. Officials at the service also say there are no expected impacts on the ground.
Snohomish County all the way down to Portland and beyond. People are sharing videos tonight of debris flashing in the sky. This is from Justin in Maple Valley.
And take a look here. Fred sent us this video from Seattle wanting to know what the heck is in the sky. The good news is that we do have some answers for you tonight. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jessica Janner Castro.
I'm Mark Wright. So we can confirm this was part of a rocket coming back down into orbit. No one is in any danger, but this wasn't exactly supposed to happen this way. We do have an expert on the phone right now. Dr. James Davenport is a research assistant professor for the Department of Astronomy at the University of Washington. Dr. Davenport, this is slightly unusual. Explain exactly what happened in the sky tonight.
Yeah, we got a really good show tonight, I think, thanks to SpaceX. This was the top end, so we call the second stage of a Falcon 9 rocket. It was actually launched about 3 weeks ago, and it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It put satellites in orbit. The only failure it had was it didn't complete its deorbit burn, so it didn't come down when and where we expected it. And so it's been just sort of waiting to fall for the last 3 weeks. And we got lucky and it came right overhead.
Story. Thousands saw it tonight about an hour ago, the massive fireball that lit up the skies all across the Northwest.
Yeah, and joining us live now is Jim Todd from 𝐼𝐍. Jim, thanks for joining us. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, no problem.
Perfect. What do you know about this so far? Tell us more.
Well, from the early reports, this was, first of all, spectacular. And when I first saw the video, I definitely thought it was man-made because of how long it burned up, how it broke apart, how the boom associated with it. But if it was a bolide or a fireball, it would have been much faster. And so just after this video shows right there, it broke apart, and apparently it's from the Falcon 9, that March 4th launch. It was the second stage, and so it looks like that definitely what's associated with that. It's a pretty classic man-made object that we've seen viewing overnight over the city of Portland and Seattle and Bend, and the whole Pacific Northwest got to see it.
Jim, what's amazing is, we've had reports of sightings before, but in this day and age, with everyone having a cell phone with an instant video camera, it's amazing that we have so many views of what we saw just an hour ago. Isn't that just amazing to you?
It is. That's exactly that. Just like the Russian fireball, we had all these dash cameras that were capturing the fireball over Russia several years ago. Now we have this with the cell phone. It's amazing how much data can be spread, and the internet spread like wildfire. So it's pretty exciting.
A sinkhole has a busy Marshall County road blocked. 2 people were sent to the hospital with serious injuries after driving into it early this morning. Both the north and southbound lanes of Alabama 227 from Old 227 Road to Alabama 62 are blocked. WAAY 31 Sierra Phillips spent the day talking with people who live nearby.
Quite a bit of trucks going to Geraldine and up towards Rainsville.
Joe Douglas lives near Alabama 227 and says it's a busy roadway. He told me that right now he's not surprised a sinkhole shut down the road because of the way he's seen water crash down to the road from up the mountain. ODOT officials say the 15 feet by 10 feet wide and 5 foot deep sinkhole will keep the road closed at least through the weekend. They say it was caused by the recent heavy rain. Officials say 24-year-old
after 27 years, the Water Wheel Court area can say goodbye to their street concerns. But that driving me crazy story we did last week led to another problem. Our morning reporter Pepper Baker shows you what happened to a neighbor's yard there.
Driving along the newly paved Water Wheel Court, you'll see a white house at the end of the street where Mark Brown lives. If you look closer, he's got quite a problem in his front yard.
And this 4 foot deep, 6 foot sinkhole in my yard is driving me crazy.
Sometime in the past, either the developer or prior property owner piped in an open ditch that ran down through the woods, and over time the pipe failed and is creating cave-ins, and this is what happens with corrugated metal pipe.
The Macon Water Authority's right-of-way ends at about 27 feet from the center of the road. The hole measures a few feet beyond that. Land advises Brown to get in touch with the general contractor.
Dig where the cave-in is at, make a point repair at this point, just to seal up the pipe where it's voided at now, and just keep an eye on it and maintain it as it comes. I mean, with it being a private issue, there's nothing we can do to assist him, unfortunately.
Because the hole is on this side of the storm drain, it's my responsibility, but had the hole been on that side, then they would have taken care of it. It's pretty obvious the storm drain is the issue, but their rules are their rules, and it's a matter of inches, I guess.
Detroit spent millions of dollars and had big plans on the drawing board to fix its very old water lines.
But one problem we started reporting on a month ago is affecting people's quality of life, and it has neighbors asking, where are the repair crews? Local 4 business editor Rod Maloney is live on the city's east side, where one small business is on the ropes over all of this. Rod?
Oh, it sure is, Kimberly. And if you look behind me, this is the mess that's in the middle of the street. In fact, it's blocking traffic. They're riding on the grass around mortally here. Wounded the business she'd invested her life savings in. But the sinkhole sank it. So even when the city and water sewer department tells Local 4,
they're going to come out, I believe they're coming tomorrow to fix the actual hole in the riser pipe.
So does this help anything?
No.
And why not?
Because I don't, they told us that last week.
Carmen tells us she may reconsider reopening, but it's going to take thousands she doesn't have, and she says she's not asking for a handout.
It's disgusting. It make us look ugly, or make it look like we're not trying to do nothing to fix this problem.
Now, this may not look like it right now, but it is a very busy intersection, and the store had become very much a central part of the neighborhood.
We now know that 2 people are seriously injured after crashing into this sinkhole in Marshall County early this morning. Right now, both the north and southbound lanes of Alabama 227 from Old 227 Road to Alabama 62 are blocked. WAY 31 Sierra Phillips is live at one of the roadblocks with what we know about those 2 people injured.
We know one of those people was the driver, 24-year-old Sabrina Davis from Fife. We also know there was a passenger in the car. Both were sent to the hospital with serious injuries. Marshall County Sheriff's Office representatives tell us that one of the people in the car was pregnant at the time of the crash. Take a look at video of this sinkhole they crashed into. ALDOT representatives say the sinkhole is about 15 feet by 10 feet wide, and 5 feet deep. They say it was caused by heavy rain, likely rushing down the mountain. Now, people who live here tell me this is a pretty
Developing this midday, a 3.4 magnitude earthquake shook Edgemont, South Dakota this morning. That's according to the U.S. Geological Survey's website. Now, this would be the 3rd recorded earthquake in South Dakota since December. 3.2 quake was recorded near Bowdle on December 8th, and a 3.1 earthquake was recorded near Tyndall on January
7/26. We are following breaking news in South LA where a massive sinkhole has now opened up at a big water main break there. It's happening now on 69th Street near Buttlong, so keep that in mind. Crews coned off the sinkhole, but had to help push at least 1 car clear of it. DWP says at least 50 customers will be without water until 4 p.m. While they work to fix the break there. But again, we saw a news vehicle out there that was struggling at one point, but was able to get out of that area.
7th Street, we're here in South LA. You can see these crews here. They've been scooping up the mud, dumping it into these trucks to be hauled away eventually. That flooding so severe this morning. Take a look across the street. You can see that sinkhole that just opened up. It's blocked off by cones and caution tape now, but it's going to take a while to repair. Our cameras were actually rolling while this was happening. Take a look. You can see Skyfox overhead is a huge chunk of concrete at the top of your screen there. You can see it fall into the hole as the water rises. Now, this started as a break in an 8-inch cast iron water main just before 3 a.m. We're here in the Vermont Slauson area of South LA. Utility crews got here very quickly, though. They've been working around the clock to fix this break. Then a couple of hours later, though, from when they arrived, that sinkhole started forming. The streets so flooded that our news van actually got stuck in the mud for about 20 minutes. Thankfully, the other cars that were parked right in that area where the sinkhole is, those had been moved, or else those easily could have been swallowed up when you look at the size of that thing.
Just into the newsroom, we have just received the name of the man who died in the storm. According to the Coweta County Coroner's Office, his name is Barry Martin. He was 56 years old. They tell us he died from a heart attack, but first responders said they had a hard time getting to him because of all of the storm damage as the tornado was going through. There is a GoFundMe page that we will post on 11alive.com. New this morning, all Coweta County schools will be closed tomorrow. That includes virtual classes. The school system says they will update the plan for the rest of the week, depending on the state of power outages and opening up roads. Noonan High and Atkinson Elementary have gone ahead and canceled classes for the entire.
Governor Brian Kemp joined by other state and local leaders touring the city and high school to get an idea of how long the recovery could take.
It is a lot different from anything I've ever seen.
Kemp promising state resources to help rebuild, saying crews will be in the city for the foreseeable future. A lot of people working out here say this is some of the worst damage they've seen, and there's still plenty of threats, whether it be tree limbs falling as workers try to clear a path or people taking advantage of others in a desperate situation.
And buildings destroyed. And one person dead. Tonight, communities are picking up the pieces after heavy rain, strong winds, and a violent tornado struck counties just south of Atlanta. Most of the damage is in Newnan and Coweta County, where less than 24 hours ago, an EF4 level tornado ripped through. Very devastating for those communities, and our team is tracking the very latest on the damage.
It's real awful. It's bad. Just being a neighbor, trying to get things cleaned up.
We met a lot of people who came to support in any way they could.
Thanks for helping out, hon.
And a lot of people drawing on stories of survival and perspective.
We'll just be thankful to the Lord that the church is fine. Our building is hurt, but the people are fine.
That, they say, will get them through this, along with the fact that so many people have already come to help.
Just trying to help out the community.
I talked to one father who said they have a hole in the roof, no power. He has young children and they just have a flashlight and a couple of candles, and those kids now associate the darkness of night with a very scary storm. So we're thinking of those families tonight.
I heard the wind. It blew the windows and everything out that house. And I heard the roaring.
It was just real quick. Look what it could have been, but it's not.
It's like it came through the front door.
To be alive, I'm blessed.
We'll be praying for you.
A school, a church, and many, many homes damaged in a violent tornado overnight. I'm Cheryl Preheim, along with Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb here in Newnan, about 40 miles
right now.
South
families
of
are feeling the pinch. Your hard-earned money going out just as fast as it's coming in.
And you may have noticed many of the things you have always bought now costing even more. KPRC2's Joel Eisenbaum live near downtown with the story all new at 6. Joel, prices going up everywhere from grocery stores to car lots.
Yeah, car lots. Keith, auto production is down right now. There are issues in terms of supply chain and raw material. It's fewer cars on the lots. The cars that are on the lots are going for more money, and some version of this is playing out in a lot of the things we buy. Are you feeling the squeeze? Don't things seem a little more expensive all of a sudden? Everything's costing more?
Yes. Gas has gone up quite a bit.
Homes.
Frozen peas and corns went up 19 cents a pound.
Higher prices across the board. The Consumer Price Index tells the tale. Food has really skyrocketed. Food must be delivered, keep in mind. Diesel is how trucks move it. It's up close to 20% year over year, and the whammies keep coming.
The prices I've never seen in 42 years in my business life go up this high.
Yuval Michler owns Texas Mattress Makers. He knows the problem is production, the supply side. Across so many industries, there are big hiccups getting raw materials to build stuff. So low supply and high demand equals higher prices.
Steel, for the coils and such, has gone up 32% since the end of last year.
Consumers have to eat some of that.
in Blair County were out fighting a substantial wildfire as well. These photos are from the Logan Township Fire Department, and much like the one in Center County, we're told a downed electrical line was to blame. The fire spread to a garage and a vehicle on the property along Fowler Lane in Logan Township. The high winds also caused it to spread across 8 acres. Firefighters were able to save other residential homes with the assistance of 7 other departments who battled on foot, UTVs, and brush fire vehicles. Thankfully, no injuries.
The fire departments battled a brush fire in Dunn County this afternoon. According to officials with the Colfax Fire Department, the fire started along 570th Street in the township of Otter Creek. The brush fire burned about 10 acres. Fire officials said the fire spread rapidly into the woods, making it difficult to get under control. It did take about 2 hours to put out the fire. We spoke with one neighbor who came out to see the damage after another neighbor alerted him of the fire.
And then he said, "It sounds like it's your place." So when he said that, I finished up work and drove out here with my wife. So obviously it's not my place, but this is not good to see something like this. It can cause a lot of damage, and it's good nobody's hurt.
And the cause of the fire is unknown. Fire officials said thankfully there was no wind to fuel the
homeowner
flames.
I spoke with says she was extremely concerned when she got a call from her neighbors that flames from the brush fire were moving toward her property.
And then within a few minutes, the whole back fence line apparently had caught up in flames.
Smoke filled the sky in Fellsmere on Wednesday afternoon as flames burned through 52 acres and threatened 6 homes, one of them being Alderman's.
The fire crew was set up in our front yard, taking the water out of the pond and whatnot, but it moved quick.
In order to protect her animals, Alderman had several of them moved to another location as crews continue to battle the fire.
The homeowners did their part by having that
some breaking news. The Honolulu Fire Department is evacuating White Plains Beach in Kalaeloa because of a brush fire. The blaze is in the area of Coral Sea Road and Long Island Street. We're looking at it here from an H1 freeway traffic camera, which is at the Makakilo off-ramp. Now, the fire was first reported at about 2:30 this afternoon, but the evacuation wasn't ordered until just before 5 p.m. There are no reports of injuries, and we'll give you more information as it becomes available.
An acre of land burned up in a brush fire in Fowler Township. The good news, crews were able to keep those flames from spreading to any nearby homes. It all started right after midnight near Ridge Road between Bradley Brownlee and Everett Hole. Firefighters had to use off-road vehicles to get this under control. No word yet on what's
late breaking. WPBF 25 News at 11 starts now.
First at 11, fire rescue crews in Martin County rushing back out to fight a fire, one that rekindled from yesterday's smoky blaze along the turnpike. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gianna Caserta. Martin County Fire Rescue says the rekindled flames are now 100% contained. But here's a look at what that blaze looked like earlier tonight. Take a look at this video and that smoke and those flames. This was right in the Stewart Palm City area. Officials say about 10 acres burned. They add dry conditions, low humidity, and gusty winds are likely what fueled today's flames. Now this fire sparked from the one we saw yesterday in that same area. That one scorched about 40
acres. Right now, 2 developing
acres.
stories. In the 11 o'clock hour, the first along the Treasure Coast, where an 18-wheeler carrying natural gas caught fire. The fire scene tying up traffic in both directions in St. Lucie County around mile marker 147. The driver able to get out of the burning truck without injury. Tonight, traffic is now to tonight's big story. The close call for Treasure Coast homeowners. Flames burning dangerously close to some homes this afternoon near Fellsmere. While the fire's now out, the danger is still very much a reality, with our weather as one of the factors we're watching. WPTV News Channel 5's Derek Lowe with a new look at the brush fire and how it began.
Cell phone video taken by Dwayne Springer and his son shows flames moving quickly over this dirt road just outside of Fellsmere.
Okay, that's right. Oh yeah, we gotta go. We're in the road and right beside us pine trees are going up. We had to kind of move because of the heat.
That heavily damages a vacant home in Mill Village is being blamed on an out-of-control brush fire. Multiple crews responding to the fire in the 12,000 block of McGahan Hill Road just after 1:30 today. Due to the location, multiple tanker trucks were called to the scene. Crews had the fire under control in just over an hour, but not before a garage was heavily damaged and the fire had spread to the back of a vacant house.
Our challenges we had were during the daytime our limited manpower, so we had to bring in multiple companies to get enough manpower to be able to handle the fire. And plus with the no hydrant system out in the county that we had to be able to bring in tankers, so we had sufficient water to maintain the fire.
Fire departments reminding everyone that due to the lack of rainfall to take care when burning any brush or debris. Several communities, though, have also instituted burning bans, so check with local authorities before you burn.
Brush fire near UT Medical Center on Cherokee Trail. The Knoxville Fire Department says it's mostly under control at this point. Officials say they don't know the cause of the fire, but said the dry and windy conditions helped it spread over the road.
We begin with our Peyton Kennedy, who is near one of those downed trees. And that tree is a historic landmark in Center County, right, Peyton?
Good evening, Matt. Yes, that is right. The old willow, a staple here at Penn State, is just one of the trees that has been affected by these high winds today. And as you can see here behind me, the tree has fallen and is currently taped off as maintenance workers decide what to do with this landmark, which is believed to have been planted in 1858. And freshmen actually bowed to this tree. It's one of Penn State's longest living traditions. And we'll continue to keep you posted on what is to come of Old Willow. But for now, I want to turn your attention to another issue that has been affecting central Pennsylvania today, and that is wildfires. The fire chiefs tell me with the dry leaves and brush from this winter, it doesn't take much for a wildfire to start. And the high winds from today, they can be easily spread. Community members are encouraged to report any sparks or flames they may see in the brush. And the Logan fire captain says power lines may also cause flames, similar to a wildfire they experienced today.
Someone said that they saw some sparks come from a line. I don't know what actually started it, but it does look like it may have started out toward the power lines. I know other fires in Center County today have been started similar to this.
Brace yourselves. We are just about 2 months away from some big changes hitting our region. It's about to get uncomfortably noisy if you venture outside, because that is when the cicadas come to town. Fox 5's Josh Rosenthal.
And before you know it, the cicadas will be back. Up to 1.5 million of them per acre.
They are going to hit somewhere between 80 and 100 decibels. Hey, that's the sound of a lawnmower engine or a jet aircraft flying by.
Of course, everyone may not share University of Maryland professor Michael Raupp's enthusiasm for what's being called
Brood X.
That's right, Brood X, a once every 17 years event when a crushing number of cicadas emerge, likely, Raupp said, in mid-May, with the bug sticking around for about 3 weeks.
The thing that's special about these guys is their bizarre strategy for survival. It's called predator satiation. What that means is they are going to emerge synchronously in prime numbered years in numbers so massive they're going to fill the bellies of every predator that wants to eat them, and there are still going to be enough left over.
This is also on 24. Traffic just completely stopped. You can see the lights from the first responders are really just illuminating the scene here and showing you how much of a response there is from Metro police officers. And take a look at this video here. Look at these traffic signs, look at these vehicles, and that tells you how deep the water was. And if you looked further down the road in that clip just now, you see the water wasn't very high at all, but then there was a little dip, and that's where people got in trouble. Another vehicle here is stuck in these flooded waters. So you can see another image here again. This is what we've been seeing throughout this morning. Lots of cars being stuck in flooded roadways. Look how fast the water is moving on this road here, just really feet away from that other vehicle. And you can see here again, our photographer able to stand at a distance and get a good image from this flooded road, but then further down, it's halfway up the car. The water is halfway up that car. So that kind of just shows you the significance of the situation when it comes to these floodwaters. Again, first responders have been very busy. They have been going from one incident to the next all morning long. That's why we're live on the air with you right now, because this is a dangerous situation that is currently happening. It is still active, and you are still needing to be very careful if you're living in these communities.
Good morning. We're starting now with a live look from Campbell County. There is flooding across East Tennessee, all over the area right now. Again, a live look right outside of downtown La Follette, where rivers are just creeks full of water right now, high up there on the tree line. Be careful if you are getting out to head to church or work. maybe put off any errands that you have running. The flooding is really going to be an issue, and water-covered roadways, you need to take it slow and be safe.
Jefferson City, Kim White shared this photo right outside of her house, and you can see that the water going all the way up into their entrance. Unless they have another way of getting out of their house, it does look like they're going to get extremely wet. Flooding from Hawkins County. We had this shared to us by the Hawkins County Emergency Management. Multiple roads are being overtaken by water in Hawkins County. And then we take you into Lenoir City, where Rena Barnett shared this photo with us, saying that the entrance to her subdivision is covered in water. And again, this is in Lenoir City. So if you are traveling out and about today, safely share your photos with us, not only to let us know what's happening in your area, but more so to inform other viewers who may be driving this morning. Turn around, don't drive, don't drown, don't drive through roads that are covered in water. More details on how long this will last for the rest of the day coming up. Leslie.
Rebecca, thank you. We are also following breaking news out of Middle Tennessee. Those overnight storms have led to water rescues throughout Davidson, Wilson, and Williamson counties. You can see floodwaters rushing throughout Nashville. Right now, thousands of power outages.
We continue to follow conditions throughout our area. Let's go ahead and send it over to Angela Kim, who is in Thunder this morning. She's been monitoring conditions. And Angela, what are you seeing where you're at right now?
Hey, Michelle, good morning. Yeah, we've actually seen that rain really coming down, but it seems to be coming down in kind of heavy waves almost. You know, it really passes through for a few minutes and then it'll lighten up a little bit. But if you are kind of in this area, we're in the Hickson area right now, you do want to be careful. You know, we've seen the wind so strong that these stoplights, they're actually blowing in the wind, and the rain was coming down so hard earlier that the rain was actually bouncing off of the truck, and it was actually blurring the camera up so much even our windshield wipers couldn't keep up. So, you know, things to be aware of this morning is that rain is also really sticking on the roads and making conditions pretty dangerous for people that are getting out on the roads this morning. So if you can stay home for at least a couple more hours, definitely be sure to do that as well. We've also had reports that there's some hazards that are being checked out right now, and wires are down in different areas. So if you are going near any kind of wire or power line, be sure to stay away from that area. You may remember
Hi everybody, Michael Coates here, and working from home for a little bit just to give you a quick update, so please excuse the video quality, but we do have a pretty tight pressure gradient coming in here with a cold front that's making its way through the northwest. This cold front's going to drive in some really gusty winds, a few scattered snow and rain showers, but it's really not the wet weather we're concerned with, it's the wind. The National Weather Service has issued a high wind warning for tonight going through Monday morning and through Monday evening, and this is for pretty much the entire area, excluding western Wyoming, but western Wyoming and northern Utah will get some gusty winds, but the worst of the winds will be expected in areas of the Snake River Plain and eastern Idaho.
Hello, it's Chris here in the 4 News Now First Alert Weather Center on a windy Sunday afternoon. I'm recording this right after noon, and the peak wind gusts are still ahead. I want to get right to the forecast. Here are 4 things you need to know. We are under a high wind warning. It actually takes effect at 2 p.m. Wind gusts of 50 to 65 miles per hour. That is an increase from yesterday, with gusts of up to 70 miles per hour possible. Major impacts are expected with these winds. And here's a look at some of the impacts expected. That area shaded in purple, the Palouse, the Columbia Basin. That's where some of the greatest impacts will be felt, in the Columbia Basin from blowing dust. We have recently plowed and lovingly prepared fields in Adams, Grant, Western Whitman County, and that strong wind will create blowing dust on many of our highways and interstates. That is going to be an extreme impact in the Palouse. Power outages and tree damages, the very strongest winds expected there in the Moscow-Pullman area and points to the north through the Palouse. Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, however, major impacts from power outages and tree damage, and that goes all the way up through the northern panhandle, into the central panhandle, down into the LC Valley. Wind gust forecasts. Here's a look at some of the preliminary wind gusts. The peak gusts, and I have to thank the National Weather Service for these graphics. I think they are so very helpful. The winds will peak between 2 and 8 o'clock this evening. And what's interesting, look at that bar on the confidence. Very high confidence that these winds are going to occur. The exact locations and the speeds and the gusts and all of that are a little more of a work in progress, but the impacts, there's a confidence that we are going to have.
New York City, 50 years from today. Nothing runs, nothing works, but people are the same. And people will do anything to get what they need. What they need most is Soylent Green.
Gotta tell people. Tell them what? Soylent Green is made out of people. They're making our food out of people. Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them Soylent Green is people!
We've all gotten used to wearing face coverings during this pandemic, but one Mexican inventor has come up with a new twist, Richard.
Maybe this is the next thing, or maybe it's just plain ridiculous. I want to get your take on this, Erica. It's a new type of face covering designed for when you eat or drink. And with outdoor dining opening here in Toronto and in Peel, maybe we should invest in the nose mask, Erica. Researchers in Mexico have invented a new nose, look at that, a nose mask. And so it lets you take off your regular mask when you eat, but still covers your nose, and is a respiratory disease. It spreads via air droplets, and it can get in via your nose. So they're thinking this could help if you're out eating. Some online, though, quick to mock it. One person said it, quote, dramatically increases the risk of collapsing into hysterical laughter and choking on your food. What do you say, Erica? Yay or nay on the funny-looking mask?
If it prevents more of those droplets from coming out, then I would say yay to that. And the gentleman there, he has glasses on, so that's another layer of protection. Go for it. Why not?
I want to talk about the next steps we're thinking about. First, tonight, I'm announcing that I will direct all states, tribes, and territories to make all adults, people 18 and over, eligible to be vaccinated no later than May 1. Let me say that again. All adult Americans will be eligible to get a vaccine no later than May 1.
If you thought KFC was finger-licking gross already, well, I've got news for you. KFC is now making 3D printed meat. Thus, we need to have our meats printed in a laboratory. Well, no surprise that KFC is one of the first fast food, if you want to call it that, fast garbage companies that will be producing it. And they're already rolling this out in Russia. And I'm going to show you.
Welcome back. Would you eat your favourite takeaway if it was made in a laboratory? The thought of 3D printed nuggets might not sound appetising, but scientists say you won't be able to taste the difference.
There's only one Kentucky Fried Chicken, always cooked fresh, with Colonel Sanders' original secret recipe of 11 different herbs and spices.
Until now. For in this Russian lab, your next tasty KFC meal is being prepared. Just finishing off some seafood for another customer first. This one is a squid. Yes, KFC has partnered with Russian scientists to develop lab-made chicken nuggets.
Shut up and take my money.
According to the Land Report, the tech billionaire has been purchasing agricultural land for years, building a massive portfolio of farmland in 18 states. His largest holdings are more than 69,000 acres in Louisiana, almost 48,000 acres in Arkansas, and about 20,500 acres in Nebraska. Additionally, he has a stake in 25,750 acres of traditional land in Phoenix, Arizona, which is being developed as a new suburb. It's not clear how Gates' farmland is being used or whether any of the land is being set aside for conservation. This is not Gates' only foray into agriculture. In 2008, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced $306 million in grants to promote high-yield, sustainable agriculture among farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The foundation also invested in the development of supercrops resistant to climate change and higher-yield dairy cows.
Roll to approve legalizing composting humans. What does that mean? Well, it means turning humans who pass into soil. The body's covered in natural materials like straw and wood chips, and over the course of 3 to 7 weeks, thanks to microbial activity, it breaks down into soil and then is used in farmland.
It is called 𝐉𝐶ompose, the first business of its kind, and it's set to open in Seattle in 2021.
The human composting company is taking shape in Soto. KARA 7's Allison Grandi got a first-hand look at the plans.
Each person gets their own vessel for 1 month.
That isn't a dead body. Katrina Spade gave us a look at the computer-generated images for the first human composting site in the world, planned for Seattle.
To be able to stack them because we wanted to be able to take advantage of vertical height in our cities.
𝐉𝐶ompose is scheduled to open in Soto in the spring of 2021.
We have a ton of interest. It's really exciting.
Spade came up with the idea more than 7 years ago, realizing livestock have been composted by farmers for years. She was looking for an alternative for humans, so she teamed up with the Wazoo Soil Science Department. They used the bodies of 6 human donors and proved it is safe and effective for humans as well.
So this glass of soil used to be a cow, not a human, but it's the very same process.
The law she helped pass goes into effect in May. Now she has a home for 𝐉𝐶ompose, and the building is taking shape.
Everybody enters the same way, but it's also the presence of nature.
With the help of Seattle design firm Olson Kundig.
And I'll be honest with you, I was shocked. It was the craziest idea I had ever heard.
Olson Kundig just finished the $100 million remodel of the Space Needle. Creating a new space for human composting is a new kind of first.
To make this a very sort of new and unusual and extraordinary place, and a third option for burial in this state.
It didn't take much time for him to be convinced.
But the more she talked about what it means and how this can actually transform the sort of burial industry, I literally, in that one conversation, transitioned to 2 thoughts. One is, this is what I think would be appropriate for myself. But the more I thought about it, I think this would be appropriate for the world.
They found an existing warehouse in Soto with a beautiful wood ceiling.
We were blown away by this bow truss, which is this structural piece that has this beautiful curve.
I would say it is the perfect city to get started in. Seattle is a place where people are really connected to nature and care a lot about the environment and the impact that their lives make on the environment. And then there's like a little piece of Seattle that's just a tiny bit dark and willing to think about death and mortality more than the rest of the world.
The process requires putting a body in a vessel with wood chips, alfalfa, and straw. By introducing oxygen, the composting takes about a month. The building will have space to hold a service and say goodbye.
Right now, you can imagine just kind of walking with your family in and among those trees.
Loved ones can decide if they want to come pick up the soil a month later. But it's a lot, a square yard. They can also donate it to a sustainable forest in
fake
South.
meat, now comes a plethora of pantry palatables.
Spinach, broccoli, chicken, salmon, kind of just runs the gamut. We were experimenting with a lot of new ingredients as well.
Welcome to the future.
Your printable food comes safely packaged in cartridges.
Finger licking good.
I suppose a laboratory and a kitchen, as long as it's clean.
Wouldn't put you off? No. Simply take some cells from a real chicken, multiply them in the lab into a paste, and gently place that into a printer, similar to the one in your home office. Turn that paste into sheets, and layer upon layer, turn those sheets into cubes. Presto! You've got chicken nuggets.
I'm gonna go get some KFC nuggets.
Stand around a KFC long enough, like I did today, and you'll learn.
Would you eat them if they were made in a lab? Yeah.
I don't see why not, no.
People aren't put off by it.
Yeah, I would.
If they tasted the same, what's the difference?
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't be able to tell. Personally, I'd probably prefer it.
Well, Joanna, I'm guessing you've never had one of those.
No, I haven't.
Joanna McMillan is a nutritional scientist.
Why are we making food in a lab now?
Well, we have two big problems. One is environmental and sustainability kind of issues. And the second is creating enough meat to feed the world's growing population.
Would there be nutritional value in something that's made in a lab?
Well, no, there's not. And that's what's a little frustrating for me, is why don't we think about recreating meat in the lab, but also make it healthier? And that's what's not happening.
There's no substitute for real chicken.
Adam Stratton is a proud old-fashioned butcher. You remember the ones who used to cut up, not create, meat.
There'd be a difference in texture, the taste, and, like natural. How can you go past natural products?
He won't be finger-licking, and I also suspect an old colonel might be turning in his grave.
Good chicken.
Next, they'll be telling us those yummy crab sticks aren't... Oh, hold on a second.
Whether or not they make it in the lab or not doesn't bother me.
You'd still eat it?
Yeah.
Oh boy, looks delicious, right? Like a printer in your home, printing meat out of some liquid chemical and calling it a McNugget. Now, I get it, or whatever they call them, KFC nuggets. All of the food, all of the stuff at these places is pure garbage and filth and trash. It's going to do nothing but pollute your body. And that is the truth of the matter. You want to grow man breasts? Well, start by going to these places that are, especially the ones that are selling these soy plant-based meats or the 3D printed meat, because all it is an estrogen-enhanced fake product to make you think it's meat because it has the same texture as it.
The world first, because first time there is massive operations of drone over the urban skies, testing multiple operations simultaneously just to make sure that we can do it safely and efficiently. So 2 years from now, and we're going to see multiple drones flying over the city, like we're building the new skies, and we're going to get used to see drones doing safely deliveries over our heads.
Who are you, little fella? Come to show them where I am. Not nice.
Parents have so many questions about COVID vaccines and kids. Everything from when will it be available to will it be safe for my child?
I'm following with a very sharp eye.
𝐘𝐎𝐔, a mom of 2 from Turner, Oregon, understands it's a personal decision for each family. But for hers, the decision is an easy one.
We are definitely going to take the, as some families see it, a risk in taking the vaccine now when it's available.
We're really in warp speed in terms of getting this information out.
Dr. Malika Little, a pediatric infectious disease specialist at Randall Children's Hospital, wants to assure parents safety is priority.
Absolutely, from a population base, this vaccine will be safe for kids. Vaccines always are tested from a super rigorous manner to make sure that, again, from a population base, they're going to be safe.
Dr. Little says we should expect a big push to get kids vaccinated, just like we're seeing with adults right now. But there is a lot researchers still need to figure out.
I don't think we yet know, again, what the perfect dose is for kids, and frankly, if there's going to be any big difference between the vaccines. Those are the studies that are underway right now, and I think will be really important over the next 6 months.
Those studies are going on now and are examining the effectiveness and safety of COVID vaccines in children. Pfizer and Moderna are conducting trials in children over 12.
Roll up their sleeves to get their COVID-19 vaccine. Some parents want to know when that's going to happen for younger children. Moderna's clinical trial for kids now underway in Arizona. Our Cameron Polam spoke with one mom who signed up her kids.
My first thought was that I would wait till I had delivered.
Pregnant in a pandemic, this labor and delivery nurse is used to difficult decisions, even when it came to getting the COVID vaccine while in her 3rd trimester.
I went ahead and got it at 35 weeks pregnant. I got my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine and then received my second dose at 38 weeks.
35-year-old Rachel Guthrie read the studies, talked to her doctors, and didn't look back. She's now taking another leap of faith, this time for her 2 children.
I felt comfortable that the benefits outweigh the risks, even for this younger population.
Guthrie's 2-year-old daughter Charlotte and 3-year-old son Ollie will be one of the first 750 children to get the Moderna vaccine. The trial just days from getting underway.
The more we can tell them that we've tested the vaccine and see no problems, hopefully we'll get more of the segment of population treated.
Dr. Steve Plimpton is running the study locally. On Thursday, Pfizer announced the company would also be kicking off their own study aimed at children, enrolling more than 4,500 in that trial.
Come on, Janet.
Guthrie says despite her good intention, she's already received a message from one person who disagrees.
It was anonymous and she didn't want to
Drug maker Pfizer says it has started a clinical trial testing its COVID-19 vaccine on kids. More than 100 children will be enrolled in the 5 to 11 age group. Like adults, they will be on a 2-dose schedule 3 weeks apart. The company says at least 2 children have received the first shot. Pfizer says it hopes to receive coronavirus vaccine authorization for 6 months to 11 years by early 2022.
Deep breath, 1, 2, 3, little poke.
These coveted COVID shots still don't have the green light for kids, but that could change soon.
I feel like it's really important.
Moderna just announced they've started a clinical trial for children younger than 12. 10-year-old Simone Smithers' mom immediately signed her up at the Richmond site.
I think that the benefits of being involved in a study like this and helping to ensure that there is a safe vaccine for kids outweigh the risks. And this is a chance for us to actually participate in helping to end the pandemic.
Simone's not a fan of needles, but she's willing to brave the pinch.
Because if I do it, then it helps everybody in the world, and it also helps my safety.
This next step comes after Moderna has already been running a vaccine trial for teens the past couple months. Twin 15-year-olds Jake and Drew Wesson just got their second shots in Minnesota.
It feels like pretty historic, like I'm glad I'm a part of it.
They did have side effects though.
I just was feeling really achy and tired and had chills.
Their mom said they talked to doctors, did research, and felt comfortable signing them up.
We're so fortunate to have healthy children that are able to do this. And I feel like, we all feel like it's part of our duty as a community to step up and do something for the greater good.
There will be another site right in our backyard. The University of Maryland in Baltimore is currently recruiting volunteers for their pediatric trial. Jess Arnold, WUSA 9.
Pfizer now testing their vaccine in children 12 and under at Duke Health. The vaccine currently only approved for those 16 and over.
CBS 17 digital reporter Judith Ratana is digging deeper into why some parents feel it's worth enrolling their children into these studies.
Twin sisters Alejandra and Marisol Gerardo are some of the first kids to receive a COVID-19 vaccine.
We've got two small sore arms in the household right now, which was funny. They both said, I think that means it's working.
Susanna Nagy had a conversation with the 9-year-old before joining the study. Having medical professionals as parents, they were not scared.
To be honest, sparkles make everything better.
They were pretty excited. They wanted to tell their friends at school, and so, we talked to them about it would require some more testing.
Little did any of them know they'd be test subjects number 1 and 2 under 12 years old nationwide.
I hope for them it will empower them to understand that they were part of this and that being part of science.
When Sheila Staub and her husband opened Living Waters Apostolic Church of Parma just over a year ago, they had a mission in mind.
Instead of just being a building, we wanted to be part of the community and be part of the solution.
This week, that mission was put into action as the church transformed into an official registration site for the mass vaccination clinic at the Wolstein Center in Cleveland. Volunteers from the church, along with some reps from FEMA, helping people schedule appointments face-to-face.
We have a lot of seniors that live out here, and they don't know, they're tired of getting on the phone. They're tired of being hung up on and things like that.
Staub says so far it's been a success, with people eager to get vaccinated.
Oh, I get calls all hours of the night, believe me.
And places of worship are helping with all aspects of the vaccination process, not just registration. The Islamic Center of Cleveland and Parma hosted a vaccination clinic Saturday.
Having at the mosque, I think, is very symbolically powerful.
It was organized by the Cleveland Ibn Sina Clinic, a free health clinic established at the center 2 years ago. Saturday's vaccine event was targeted at Muslim communities and the refugee population.
All kind of a different reasons why people are skeptical. Political reasons, they think there's a microchip in this one, and then you basically will tag along. Then there are religious sensitivities and all that.
Leaders at the clinic say they wanted to highlight misinformation
Millions of adults are being vaccinated against COVID-19, but trials are still underway to determine if the vaccine is safe and effective for children. This week, Moderna announced that it has given the first doses of the vaccine to young children. Brianna Richardson reached out to Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson to find out their plans to expand their trials.
On March 16th, Moderna announced its vaccine trial for children ages 6 months to less than 12 years old. The company launched a trial in 12 to 17-year-olds in December 2020. Julia Sterling is eager for a vaccine to be approved for young kids.
As long as we can get it safely and as soon as possible, I'll be first in line with my 2 kids.
Sterling hopes kids can get vaccinated before the next school year, but she does have some questions.
And kind of wondering, are they going to split it? He's 7 and obviously a lot bigger than my 2-year-old. So, are they going, how is this going to work?
I reached out to Pfizer's media relations and received the following statement. In the coming months, we intend to share the results from the 12 to 15-year-old cohort in our phase 3 trial, and then in return begin a pediatric study in 5 to 11-year-olds. Moving below 12 years of age will require a new study and potentially a modified formulation or dosing schedule. And a spokesperson for Johnson & Johnson sent this statement. Preparations are underway to extend our clinical trials to children. Our investigational
As the COVID-19 vaccine opens to everyone 16 years and older here in Utah, one research company in Salt Lake City is conducting clinical trials for the next youngest age groups.
Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher is live at Foothill Family Clinic, where J. Lewis Research is studying children and young teens. Well, the story you'll only see here. Lauren.
Yeah, Bob and Kelly. So this clinic here, Foothill Family Clinic, doubles as a research site for J. Lewis Research. The doctor here saying that not only are they studying the younger age groups, right now 12 to 15, they are looking at something completely new in relation to the COVID-19 vaccine.
This is one of many appointments for Sabine the past several months.
The swabs were the worst part.
Blood draw. The 17-year-old, one of the reasons the Pfizer vaccine is now available to everyone 16 plus in Utah.
I just thought it would be a really good way to give back.
I was hoping that being part of a study that would allow those kids to get the vaccine was important.
A study that continues at J. Lewis Research in Salt Lake City through Pfizer, now with teens younger than Sabine.
Very interesting things going on with our
our study participants ages 12, 13, 14, 15. We've been watching them for several months, tracking their data.
Dr. James Peterson says they've given out 2 doses of the real or placebo vaccine to 4,000 kids and young teens. They're now testing every 2 weeks for COVID-19 to see how effective it is. It's the first time, he says, that they're tracking asymptomatic cases in relation to the vaccine.
And we begin with the latest on the vaccine rollout. One of the COVID-19 vaccine makers, Moderna, has recently started their vaccine trial for young children. Now, right now, there aren't any COVID vaccines approved for that age group. Jenna Krazina spoke with a local pediatrician to learn more about what this means for parents and kids.
This is a great step in developing the outcomes of how children are protected against COVID-19.
Dr. Anna Catherine Birch, an infectious disease pediatrician at Prisma Health, says the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine trial will focus on kids as young as 6 months old to 11 years old.
We as pediatricians are so excited that the companies who produce the vaccines are starting to look at vaccines for COVID-19 in children.
Birch says most children who contract the virus do well with it, but this could help prevent MIS-C, which is a multi-inflammatory syndrome. According to the CDC, it's a condition where different body parts can become inflamed.
This specifically is to look to see how well the vaccine
We were recognized as essential businesses, but we were not recognized as essential workers.
It has been an incredibly tough year for the 14,000 bodegas across the 5 boroughs of New York City who are members of the United Bodegas of America. It was so tough and painful, they say, because they were told to stay open throughout the pandemic, but were not deemed essential workers to get priority for the vaccine. Many times, they say, they risked their health and their lives to serve customers without masks on.
It's very dangerous being behind the counter. You know that we have very close contact with people. So I think having our bodegas owner and employee vaccinated, I think it is less risk to get the infection.
Now the state has allocated vaccines for the 2 organizations representing bodega owners and workers.
We have convinced the governor to set aside 1,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines for bodega owners and their employees.
This announcement comes just as New York nears the top of the list for the highest rates of infection in the U.S. New York State's positivity rate stands at 3.52% and is even higher in New York City at 5.83%, with 253 new hospitalizations and 3,340 new COVID cases reported today, according to a tweet from Mayor de Blasio. So now is the time for the bodega owners and employees to get vaccinated.
This will be first come, first serve.
Yeah, Callan, so far these vaccination clinics have been largely a success. They've been going on for a few weeks here at the 40-acre site just west of Delano. I'm joined by Andres Chavez. Andres is the grandson of Cesar Chavez, and you know, with that in mind, you're no stranger to some of the challenges and some of the barriers that farm workers face. What are the challenges they're facing getting this vaccine?
Yeah, you know, Austin, like we had talked about earlier, you know, some of the challenges that they're facing, that the vaccine clinics are not in locations accessible to them or places that they're familiar and comfortable with. And then the other thing is just the timing of it. So we know that Sunday's a day that farm workers historically have off. And so that was why it was important that we're out here on Sunday morning, a day that a lot of us personally would like to take off, right? But we're out here to, again, to meet the needs of farm workers and make it at a time that's accessible for them. And what we've seen is we've seen a lot of success. Like I said, over 2,000 shots have been given here, and we hope to hit that 3,000 mark after this weekend.
Right, and so there's an event happening today that's going to be from 10 to 4. Then there's another one that's going to be happening, a special event on Wednesday, which is your grandfather's birthday. So, you know, how can people get involved? If they or somebody they know needs to get a shot, how can they go about
23 people who recently traveled to countries with Ebola outbreaks. Health officials have been in contact with these people who recently traveled to West Africa. They're being asked to check in daily for 21 days to make sure they're not experiencing any symptoms. So far, no one has tested positive for the Ebola virus, and the Department of Health says the risk to people in Washington State.
A deadly virus is now a concern in Oregon. The state health authority today revealing it is monitoring 4 people who may have been exposed during travel to West Africa.
Our Lisa Balick getting the latest from health officials. She joins us live now. Lisa, we hear the word Ebola, and it just sends shivers down your spine.
Yeah, even state health leaders said that today, that it's something that is very, very scary. But keep in mind, there are no cases of Ebola in Oregon right now. In fact, there's never even been a single case in Oregon. But right now, state health leaders are keeping watch over some travelers just in case.
Ebola is scary.
Ebola often kills 50% of people infected. It's why the Oregon Health Authority wants the public to know there is the possibility the virus could be here. Oregon Public Health is monitoring 4 people who returned from Guinea and the Democratic Republic of Congo in West Africa earlier this month, places where there are now Ebola outbreaks and deaths. State health leaders here in Oregon today refused, though, to identify any information about the travelers. I asked Oregon health leaders, what about airline passengers who wonder if they were potentially exposed
Tonight,
to
the
the
Oregon
virus?
Health Authority says it is monitoring 4 people for Ebola. This comes after they traveled to West African countries that are currently experiencing outbreaks right now. Fox 12's Sarah Hurwitz explains how this impacts us here at home.
The good news is OHA says this poses a low risk for Oregonians. It says those 4 people right now are asymptomatic as it continues to monitor them. While the risk to Oregonians is low, the Oregon Health Authority wanted to make sure it provided reassurance to the community.
Ebola is scary, and so we didn't want the media, we didn't want the public to think we're holding anything back. That's not what we do. But we also think it's important that people understand that the risk is very low. This is not a big deal. And public health is basically taking steps to keep it that way.
Dr. Richard Lehman with the Oregon Health Authority says it's working to determine if the 4 people have been exposed to Ebola and are periodically checking in with them to check for symptoms. It's not releasing which counties these people are from or any particular details around their visits for privacy.
Release of very specific information could lead to people actually being identified, to damage our ability at public health to work with these folks effectively, and it could also expose them to unwanted attention or even persecution, and I think we're all agreed that's not something anyone wants.
OHA says there's never been a case of Ebola in Oregon. Now, on March 4th, the CDC required all airlines to supply it with contact information for all U.S.-bound travelers who've been in Guinea or Democratic Republic of the Congo in the last 21 days, which OHA says is the maximum known time between exposure and when someone has developed the illness.
Minimal risk, no risk, essentially, to people who were traveling on the plane with these folks unless the person became ill, because Ebola cannot be transmitted. A person can't infect somebody else when they are asymptomatic, when they haven't become ill.
Now, as we're in a pandemic, you may have some questions about Ebola versus COVID, and there's some important distinctions to make. OHA says COVID is spread through respiratory droplets and is more likely to spread than Ebola. OHA also says Ebola is spread if someone is exposed to the blood or body fluids of someone who's ill with Ebola. And OHA says it's also in contact with groups who serve communities that are at higher risk of exposure to Ebola due to traveling to those regions. From the Mobile Newsroom, Sarah Hurwitz.
The United States is working closely with several African countries at risk in a new Ebola outbreak happening in Central and West Africa.
With COVID concern taking over day-to-day life, should we be concerned about another potential pandemic? Gabriela Garcia went to the experts to find out.
With Ebola cases happening abroad, the White House sent out a statement on Tuesday, saying in part, "We must do everything in our power to respond quickly, effectively, and with commensurate resources to stop these outbreaks before they become large-scale epidemics."
How concerned should we be about this becoming a large-scale issue?
We are all concerned
At the same time, I don't think we should panic or we should be very much worried.
Dr. Ghebreyesus is a professor of infectious diseases at OSU.
Because of the largest outbreaks that happened in West Africa 2014 and 2016, the region built capacity already and they know how to contain it. And the World Health Organization has been also supporting them.
Ebola is more limited when it comes to transmission, too. On the other hand, COVID-19 is easily spread.
Coronaviruses in general being respiratory droplets, a healthy-looking person can keep transmitting it. It can easily
Soon, trillions of cicadas will be emerging. These are the insects, those noisy insects that they have been underground growing for the past 17 years.
And everyone wants to know, are we going to see cicadas here? For how long? And what are they anyway? So let's get some answers from Alan Lawrence, the Associate Curator of Entomology at Peggy Notebart Nature Museum. So glad you are here. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, tell us what we can expect. What are these cicadas going to be up to this year?
All right, so we have Brood 10 emerging only in the eastern counties of Illinois. So for those of you in the Chicago region, this isn't the year. But if you want to go out of your way to see them, definitely head to the east central Illinois and you can see them. So there's cicadas that have been living underground for 17 years. They're going to emerge in early June and live for just about a month, and then they're dying. And then they'll be back in another 17 years.
That is a very interesting life cycle. So what are they doing this whole time underground before they emerge looking like that?
Yeah, underground, what they're doing is tapping into plant roots. They have these little needle-like mouth parts. So they stab into the plant with that, and they're just drinking, liquid from the plants that way.
Wow.
California's Department of Water Resources says a dry winter will force us to dramatically reduce water allocations, and that has local districts now planning for potential shortages. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama is here now with more on the impact. Jana?
Frank, the state says that some of the major reservoirs are 50% below capacity right now, and that could impact everyone from farmers to consumers at home. Colorful and water conserving, the sustainable Solano Community Garden in Benicia has been getting a lot of attention. Staff say they're getting calls from people interested in doing more gardening during the stay-at-home pandemic year.
That's been a huge interest, is like, how can we grow food at home? One less trip to the grocery store.
But a dry winter this year could mean drought conditions come summer. California's Department of Water Resources mailed warning notices to 40,000 state water customers, urging them to take conservation measures and plan for possible shortages. The state website shows current reservoir levels in Northern California well below capacity and historic averages, and that could have a big impact on Bay Area water districts.
In a typical year, the State Water Project would supply about 40% of our overall demand.
Robert Shaver, general manager of Alameda County's water district, says the state plans to cut their allocations to just 5%, forcing many districts to find other sources.
We know that the reality is that we're going to see
longer droughts with climate change. We're going to see more severe droughts.
Matt Keller, a spokesman for the Santa Clara Valley Water District, says fortunately, many customers have reduced their usage after years of drought, and the district is investing in more infrastructure.
We're using 20% less water than we were using in 2013. That's huge for our water storage. Currently, our goal is to have 10% of our water supply in Santa Clara County come from recycled water and advanced purified water. So that water would be local, we'd control it, it would be drought resilient.
Many districts are urging people to take steps now to reduce water consumption with water-saving steps indoors and outdoors.
And just start small. Maybe just start by getting rid of the grass, laying down cardboard and getting wood chips. It's about 70,000 gallons is what an average lawn requires, where a mature food forest requires about 20,000.
Many districts tell me it's still too early to tell whether customers might see any rate changes or mandatory reductions, but they are hoping with conservation that they might be able to at least make it through this year. Frank.
Jenna, thank you. Now we go to
were among the hundreds of people getting their COVID vaccine today in Southwest Albuquerque. Actors Bob Odenkirk and Ray Seahorn got their first shot this afternoon at the National Hispanic Cultural Center near 4th and Bridge. They're currently in Albuquerque shooting the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul and wanted to help promote getting vaccinated. Bernalillo County Commissioner and Breaking Bad alum Stephen Michael Quezada invited them to the clinic.
A lot of awareness for us to be safe when we go into the community that we're part of for months and months and months, and really respect that we need to be a part of the solution here as well.
They're reminding New Mexicans to register for the vaccine. And after getting their shots, the Better Call Saul cast also mentioned how much they enjoy working in Albuquerque. Bob Odenkirk was even sporting a New Mexico United hat. They explained how filming here has changed during the pandemic.
A little nerve-wracking, but for me a joy once we started doing the work.
We're all so thrilled to be back here and to be back in New Mexico, and we love shooting in Albuquerque. But there's a lot of precautions that Sony is putting in, and AMC, social distancing, people in zones, mask wearing until the last second when the camera's rolling.
They say many of their crew members have already been vaccinated.
This is 7 News with Jody Spears.
Good morning. Queensland Health is under fire this morning after a bungle involving an infected man who was accused of throwing a house party while awaiting test results. The claims sparked widespread outrage before Queensland Police pushed back, saying the information was incorrect.
The contact tracing and inquiries that we've conducted after that reveals that in fact there were only 5 other persons there. There is no offences, evidence of any offences, but we're still considering it.
Easter long weekend travel plans remain in doubt as authorities have not yet ruled out another lockdown. It comes as one new case was detected in the community yesterday, the brother of the 26-year-old landscaper who tested positive on Thursday night. Other states and territories remain on high alert as Queensland's latest outbreak continues to grow. Border declaration forms are required on arrival in most states for those who visited Brisbane and the Moreton Bay areas. Victoria has declared the hotspots orange zones under their traffic light system. Western Australia has imposed the toughest border controls, forcing anyone from Queensland to be tested and isolate for 14 days.
I'd urge people from Queensland to reconsider their travel. And there is a prospect we might go to an even harder border with Queensland in coming days.
It comes as New South Wales Health issued an urgent alert for returning travellers from Queensland, with 9 close contacts of the current cluster told to isolate. The federal government's culture crisis is causing more headaches for the Prime Minister as he takes a slip in the latest news poll. Let's go live now to political reporter Rob Scott. Good morning, Rob. Voters don't seem to be impressed by the PM's handling of the issues plaguing Parliament.
Good morning, Jody. No, they certainly don't, and that's having a big impact on his personal approval rating. The latest news poll showing that Scott Morrison has taken a 4-point hit as preferred Prime Minister, falling to 52%, while Anthony Albanese rose 2 points. The coalition, though, appears to have escaped the voter backlash, with the two-party preferred vote stable at 52-48 to Labor. That as the Liberal Party takes a hit of a different kind, with Queensland backbencher Andrew Laming agreeing threatening to step down. A decision forced on him after growing calls from within his own party for him to go, following numerous incidents of alleged inappropriate behaviour, including trolling 2 women online, publicly apologising and then allegedly later laughing about it. He will stay on until the next election though, but has taken leave to undergo empathy and sensitivity training ordered by the Prime Minister.
I'm not demonstrating really an understanding of how my actions affect other people. At this stage I'm pausing, I'm getting the medical and the counselling support that I need.
In a bid to stem the bleeding, Scott Morrison is expected to announce a major cabinet reshuffle very soon.
Business owners in Miami Beach say they are shouldering the economic burden of these curfews as businesses on the West Coast say they're being punished because of COVID restrictions. Here to talk about both of these challenges is Ray Schnitzer, owner of the 11th Street Diner in Miami Beach, and Barrett Lepagian, owner of the Tin Horn Flat Saloon and Grill in Burbank, California. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Ray, first you had to stay in business during a pandemic. Now rowdy spring breakers in Miami Beach. What has been the impact of all of that on your business?
Well, it's been tough because, number one, back in June when we opened, we had to follow all the CDC guidelines and protocols so that we could open, which is very costly, so that we could open with regard to following those guidelines. Now, one of which was 50% inside dining, which was okay. We could make ends meet with inside dining with a supplement of outside seating. But as time progressed, the whole thing about spring break is it's a misnomer, number one. The spring break now, this started way back when, years and years ago, when it was kind of branded, Memorial Weekend branded as Urban Weekend. So that carryover came all the way into the beginning when DeSantis let us open up at the end of May, beginning of June. And with the stimulus money in particular and cheap air flights and cheap hotel rooms / Airbnb, we got an influx of predominantly city people. So the majority of which are great. Just the young kids, you know, they always would like to push the envelope and push as far as they can. But as far as the impact now, because the curfew, what should have happened in the beginning is the city dropped the ball. I won't even get into all that as far as policing goes. But now the mayor and the city of Miami Beach with the mandate for this new curfew, because we got yo-yoed all the way from June until now, from a curfew from 8 until 10 until midnight, and now going from midnight back to 8, where you have to close at 7. It's truly impacted our business as far as revenue goes, because during the day, 60% of our revenue is probably our morning shift and 40% at night. And within that 40% now, we've been dropped down to probably 20% of that 40%. So it's a big hit. But more importantly, on top of that,
let me bring in Barrett.
One of the guests. Sorry?
Let me bring in our other guest. Barrett, you've had challenges of your own, obviously COVID, but also Governor Gavin Newsom declaring restaurants closed. Tell us about your story.
Mike, you know, we were going along last year, complying with what they were saying, and towards the end of last year, about December, you know, they just closed everything back down again. You know, indoors, outdoors, and there was no explanations, there was no reason. It just, you know, and that's after us doing all the things.
After 2 nights of sometimes violent protest, one of the largest homeless encampments in LA is being cleared out. Echo Park is being cleaned up, but so far the city does not have a timeline on when it can reopen. Kara Finstrom has the story.
She already found a place to stay, but I'm in charge of her property, and I'm doing the best I can, because she's a human being, and she was in the condition that thousands of people surrounding.
This man is helping a loved one who'd been living in Echo Park and left belongings behind. The city says it will return such items. He's hopeful the changes ahead for her will be positive.
A lot of difference that she'll probably be in a better life. So I wish everybody, you know, get the same luck, and no, it really depends how people, you know, handle it.
Officers and park rangers moved into the park today, and we could see people who'd remained in the encampment past the closure deadline leaving. City leaders say about 200 people were given temporary housing or motel vouchers, with numerous community agencies continuing to work on housing solutions. Colin Regan exercises at the park and worries what will happen when the vouchers run out.
It's an awful complex problem, but nobody has a long-term solution.
and nobody seems to care that there isn't one.
Some protesters call the removal of the encampment unjust and have clashed with police for 2 nights now, with numerous arrests last night. Others who live in the area say the move is overdue because of problems with drug use, assaults, and other crimes that have kept the community from using the park. Today, dump trucks and dozers lined up to begin what's expected to be a $500,000 rehabilitation effort, fixing lighting and plumbing and undertaking a long list of repairs.
And Los Angeles park officials say that the repairs to the park will be extensive. They estimate more than $500,000 worth of damage has been done to Echo Park.
Migrant girls seeking asylum will spend their first night at the San Diego Convention Center, which is expected to operate as a temporary shelter for the next few months. We're going to give you a live look right now outside the convention center, where right now you see that green bus filled with the migrants arriving just about 20 minutes ago, as we're giving you a live look at what's going on there. Crowd there. Again, we saw the bus coming down Convention Way about 20 minutes ago. Our photographers were seeing some of those migrants lining up to go into the convention center. You see them wearing masks. We could get shots of the migrants sitting on the bus wearing the mask as they came to a stop just outside the entrance there. Homeland Security has been around the convention center all day long. We saw a drug-sniffing dog going around the bus as it came to a stop. We also saw a small group of people across the road holding signs in support of the migrants, also waving at them as they were on the bus. So this is a very exciting time for some of those supporters, watching them come in, and they are certainly trying to welcome these migrants the best they can. To give you a little bit of a background on what has led up to this situation, earlier this week on Monday, County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher and San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria making the announcement that the convention center was going to turn into a temporary shelter. Supervisor Fletcher told us that they got the call a week ago on Saturday from the Department of Health and Human Services that a request to use the convention center to help out with the migrant situation, the surge at the border, to help out these children. They're expected to be, on average, the children will stay at the convention center 30 to 35 days. It's children up to 17 years old. It's unclear how many children will end up at the convention center. Also told that while at the convention center, the children will not be allowed to leave. They will only leave once they are reunified with parents, family members, or sponsors. And local leaders say that they have those family members, sponsors lined up, and at some point they will be put together with them. Earlier today, Kelsey Christensen, Fox 5's Kelsey Christensen, was at the convention center listening to a message from local politicians talking about the arrival of these migrants tonight.
Think about a mom in El Salvador. She's hoping that her girl finds people like this to take care of her.
Emotions run high as 500 girls seeking asylum arrive at the San Diego Convention Center Saturday night, coming from overcrowded border detention facilities.
These are all girls that are coming here. As you probably know, girls have particular dangers when they travel.
The South are waking up to major damage this morning from severe weather, tornadoes, torrential rain, and large hail. The big story overnight, though, has been extensive flooding in the Nashville area. We showed you video from earlier in the weekend with packed crowds. Last night, a different scene. Video showing cars submerged by more than 6.5 inches of rain. Some reports up to 10 inches. That system now heading toward the East Coast with severe weather expected from Georgia right up into the Northeast. ABC's Elwin Lopez has more.
Overnight, at least 15 reported tornadoes tearing across 4 states in the South. In East Texas, a powerful twister ripping through, toppling over structures and uprooting trees. And another twister touching down near Lexington, Tennessee, leaving behind a trail of destruction. This home left in shambles, the roof stripped off, twisted hunks of metal left clinging to trees, houses reduced to pieces. And in eastern Mississippi,
oh my God, barely. What is going on right now?
Strong wind gusts ripping through this apartment complex. The latest round of severe weather comes as cleanup efforts are underway in neighboring Alabama. Parts of the state witness to an EF3 tornado packing 140-mile-per-hour winds.
The powerful wind gusts lifting this fridge into the den from the back porch, several feet still plugged in.
Dave Grubick says his home of 20 years was reduced to piles of debris.
You rushed back here.
Yes.
And you saw your house completely gutted.
I couldn't believe it. I was shaking, and we were able to salvage quite a bit of memories. Scrapbooks, baby books, pictures on the wall of the grandkids. I'm going to tell you what even touched me more. The people that are helping. I don't even know.
The volcano first erupted in Iceland, and now locals want to take a real close look. Today, thousands of people made a trek to watch the lava flow up close. Officials there saying the crowds are growing larger every day. The volcano only about 20 miles from Iceland's capital, so after a year of lockdown, locals are more than happy to get out of the house and take in a show there from Mother Nature. Make sure the visitors stay safe. Officials set up a hiking trail with security. It's unclear how long the volcano is going to continue.
Yeah, you can't miss that. Thank you, James. Well, starting on Thursday, everyone 50 years and older will be eligible to get the coronavirus vaccine statewide. Vaccinations are accelerating and hospitalizations are dropping, though public health leaders have expressed some concern about an uptick in new infections in other parts of the country. For more insight, we want to bring in now Dr. Monica Gandhi. She's a specialist of infectious disease and a professor at UCSF School of Medicine. Dr. Gandhi, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
I want to get to vaccinations, but first let's look at kind of the latest numbers, because it's been we're at an interesting point of the pandemic as a lot of the Bay Area is moving into less restrictive tiers. How are you reading the latest numbers?
You know, every state is actually behaving somewhat differently. So California is doing great, as are 25 other states. And then there are some states where the numbers aren't going down as well. And there are some states that they're actually increasing. This is not unexpected, to be fair. The hospitalizations per case are coming down extremely nicely. What does that mean? It means that people who are actually vaccinated are not the ones going into the hospital. They are the ones who have been spared and do not have severe disease. So older people, the hospitalization rates among older people are plummeting. And this exact same thing happened in Israel right at the beginning of their vaccination campaigns. There was a stubborn sort of, at times, increase in cases or more cases as people were getting excited that they got their vaccinations, and then it just fell. And that's going to happen in this country.
We were just putting up a graphic where you can see the latest hospitalizations positivity rate, and you see that huge spike that we had over winter, and as it's come down, as you see it there's been a lot of talk of, is it stalling? Could there be a fourth wave? What point are we at now as it's dropping, and what should we look for? And when we know kind of when we're out of the woods, or if we could be going into a fourth wave?
I think in this state, we're doing really well, as you've illustrating here. And we also have maintained our restrictions along with our increasing vaccination rates, like you just said, Thursday for people over 50 and April 15th for everyone. So those increasing vaccination rates and keeping on our, there's still masks in California. There's still 20% to 25% capacity. All of that is, I think, working in our favor. I think all of those restrictions can go away later. But this kind of combination of not letting everyone completely be wide open and putting vaccinations out this fast, I don't think we're going to see a fourth surge in our state.
I'm glad you brought up vaccinations, because let's get to that. I also think we're at this middle place, right, where some people have had it or started to get the vaccines. Some people have been fully vaccinated. I believe it's about 29% have received a dose, about 16 million doses administered, but then there's others who haven't. So I'm curious,
first brought you yesterday morning. Virginia Beach police are actively investigating 3 different shootings along the ocean front Friday night. 2 people were killed, 1 in an officer-involved shooting. 8 were hurt, and 3 people have now been arrested. In another incident, a Virginia Beach police officer was hit by a car. He's since been released from the hospital. The police chief held a news conference to talk about the victims, including 25-year-old Donovan Lynch. Lynch was shot and killed by a police officer.
I've seen some of the community concerns about Mr. Lynch being unarmed. What I can tell you is that there was a firearm recovered in the vicinity of where this incident occurred. We would like to be more forthcoming, but unfortunately we do not have body cam footage of this incident.
The other person killed in one of the other shootings is 29-year-old Shayla Harris. Harris was on the TV reality show called Bad Girls Club. Police say it appears she may have been hit by stray guns.
When Osimo, the humanoid robot, was unveiled 21 years ago, his goal was to make our lives easier.
One day it may not only help people get places, but help people, period.
We've since had Flippy the burger flipper, Spot the door-opening dog, and for anyone sick of slaving over a hot stove each night, meet Molly, your new best friend. After 6 years of research and testing, the world's first robotic kitchen has hit the market. Trained to cook restaurant-quality meals from scratch by mimicking human techniques.
The robot has been programmed by a chef, so it follows the same movements every single time.
It usually takes like 3 cycles, so when chef creates a recipe, chef then us.
The robot is the brainchild of a London-based computer scientist, and it doesn't come cheap. Right now, Moldy will set you back an eye-watering 445,000 Australian dollars, with more than 1,200 global sales inquiries so far.
They're all early adopters, they're all people who want to have the latest and newest gadgets. But very quickly the engineers are going to be developing all of the skills, so not only can it be loading the dishwasher and cleaning up after itself, it can be used in the oven or frying things.
Currently, the robot can cook 8 dishes, including pasta, paella and various soups. It's hoped eventually it'll have a repertoire of around 5,000 delicious meals.
So we've got penne mushroom alfredo.
Okay.
Alla moly.
It's delicious. The future is served. In London, Sarah Greenoge, 7 News.
Having to explain to them, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, no, you can't go next door tonight, or you can't go across the street to your friend's house today, and then today turned into a week, and a week turned into, you know, we're 12 months into this thing. And so at this point they play with the children from next door or across the street out in the street, but they haven't been in each other's houses. And that was, especially with the 2 younger ones, it was very hard to convince the reasoning behind that, because you can't really teach them the seriousness of what's going on in a way that they fully understand. So there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of why is she not my friend anymore, do they not like me anymore, and it's hard to explain that, you know, to a kid. So we did what we could. We moved the trampolines closer to the fences, so they would like jump together from like different backyards and things like that. And it was just confusing to them. Birthday parties got canceled, or very, very small, just us and them. And when we've always had, you know, 30, 40 people at birthday parties, and all of a sudden, in their eyes, is people don't like me anymore, you know, and it wasn't that at all. You know, the last birthday party we had was for Alina when she turned 4. A week later, everything got closed, and she hasn't seen her best friend in a year, and it's hard to explain to a 5-year-old why you haven't.
Cincinnati Children's Hospital will begin trials for the coronavirus vaccine on children. Early research in 12 to 15-year-olds is positive, and this study will look at the vaccine's effect on children between 5 and 11 years old. Doctors will work to determine the proper dose and time frame for kids as young as 6 months.
You look and see the safety profile, and if that looks okay, then you drop down to 2 to 5-year-olds and then repeat it, and then if that looks okay, go down to even younger age.
Unlike adult trials, each of the children in the first study will be given the vaccine, and no one will be
woman
given
has become a viral sensation, showcasing her skateboarding skills on the reservation. She's hoping with her growing platform that a new skate park can be built and will inspire others to pursue their passions. News 13's Brady Wakayama shows us.
This is one of Naomi Glass's viral TikTok videos from Rock Point, Arizona, a chapter of the Navajo Nation. The 24-year-old has gained tens of thousands of followers on social media who can't get enough of her skating.
I would see these sandstones and I was like, I wonder if I could skate that. So then one day I was just like, you know what? Let me just try it. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
She learned how to skate when she was just 5 years old from her older brother and hasn't gotten off the board since.
I'm not a professional at all, by any means. I just like to ride around, but it's very freeing for me.
She says skateboarding is very popular within the Navajo Nation, despite the lack of pavement and just 5 skate parks throughout. Because of this, she's teaming up with a Navajo-inspired clothing company that's planning on building a new skate park in Two Gray Hills, which is just 2 hours away from her community.
I love skateboarding so much, and I would just love to bring that joy and love of it to other communities.
She hopes with her newly discovered platform, she can properly represent and share the indigenous culture with the world and show young Navajo children that they can do anything while living on the reservation.
You can, life is what you make it, and go out there, be strong, be bold, and be confident, and be true to who you are.
Brady Wakayama, 𝐾𝐎𝐍, News 13.
The skate park project is expected to start construction this fall.